We'll give everyone a few more minutes and we shall get started. I'm Chris with Hotel Investor Apps, and that's Cody. Cody's with a company called REPAY. Just stand by for a few moments. Okay, I gave everyone 1 minute past the hour by my clock, so we'll get started. We are recording this, so if anyone does join late and wants to view it, just let us know. Today's all about automated payments inside of HIA with a partner of ours called REPAY. REPAY has been a partner for quite some time, and quite honestly, I'm here because REPAY makes our clients' lives a whole lot easier by automating that payment side. No more licking stamps, sending envelopes, worrying about checks. So, that's really what Cody's going to be presenting today. I will be monitoring the chat throughout our call. So if anyone has any questions, please put it down in the chat. I most likely will wait till the end before I interrupt Cody. And at that point, I will go through any questions. Most of you on the call know me as well, so feel free to reach out to me directly and have a one-on-one chat about REPAY or HIA or anything else you would like to. As I mentioned, the real power of REPAY is the tight integration to HIA. There are other payment partners that we have, but why I promote REPAY is because of how tightly that integration is. For our clients, what that means is you'll just do your regular check run, and then those vendors that you are associating with as a REPAY vendor will either be sent a check, an ACH, or a virtual credit card, depending on what their requirements are as a vendor. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over the controls now to Cody. Cody, if you want to say a few words, and then I suggest we both turn our cameras off, and that way people watching will have a larger screen to be able to see what you're showing us today.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks, Chris. As Chris mentioned, our real tight integration customization that we built into HIA makes the process really simple. We have pretty good ground foot within inside the hospitality industry as well. A little bit about REPAY and what we do. We used to be a company called CPay Plus. Was founded by a gentleman named Darren Horrocks. His name's actually on the original patent for the virtual credit card, so been in payments a long time. He then was purchased by REPAY about 2.5 years ago, which really we use the CPay Plus backbone and technology, but REPAY gave us the ability to build larger integrations such as the HIA one, and it makes it a pretty seamless process. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off my camera and we'll dig into things. Here we go. All right. Is everyone seeing my screen? If Chris, you could give me a nod that you're seeing the presentation.
Yep. We're ready to go.
Yeah. So what we found is a lot of the challenges that are associated with the accounts payable process within inside hospitality and other verticals as well is it's a very heavy paper process. HIA does a really good job of eliminating that with being able to store invoice copies and that, but still, if you're cutting out manual checks or ACH verifications, all that, it's still a very manual, heavy paper process. Internal processes are also need to be checked. Duplicate payments and vendors applying duplicate payments, where a lot of the hotel properties are paying the same vendor and the vendor is not paying the correct account. Lost payments, U.S. Postal Service is losing payments. And I think the average, the study I just read was 4 a month for any business. So there's quite a bit of manual process that goes into making those payments. You can gain a lot of efficiencies with the AP automation. We take out the manual process of it all, complete traceability for payments. You earn rebates back on our virtual card, which I'll get into a little bit later. So that makes it simpler and turns it into a revenue generator for you as well, reducing check, print, and labor costs associated with that. And the vendors are happier too because they're getting paid faster and more traceable with remittance information as well. So we've simplified the management of the AP functions. So automating that digitalized supplier payment. The integration with HIA makes it really seamless for us, where you're not having to upload different files to different systems or managing banking information on your own or chasing down checks. It's all within inside HIA there, and it makes it pretty seamless, especially with our direct communication, where HIA is always going to be your source of truth for vendor data, so you're not managing separate systems as well. We're a solution for, well, any payment. A lot of kind of other payment solutions out there can only do virtual card and then have you handle the rest. Whereas us, we do payments as a service. So whether it be your vendors are paid with virtual card, ACH, or check, we handle all three of those payment modalities without, and it looks the same to you and the same process for you. So it simplifies the way there. As I said before, generating rebates from the virtual card spend, reducing the cost of labor, check printing and mailing. Our average penetration rate on our verticals across, especially in hospitality, 75% electronic adoption, which means your vendors are getting paid faster as well. We also do all the bank verification for you on ACHs, all the payment modalities, positive pay files. So it really, without any real resources, so prevents fraud as well. Um, this slide here kind of just shows an overall breakdown of a standard AP practice. Now, one thing I will say, the one thing all of our customers have in common is no one's exactly the same. So this is a overview of a typical AP process. The real telling part though is, so you get the invoice, everything in green here, you're putting it into HIA, approve it to be paid. And then the dark blue is where REPAY picks up on that handoff and handles the rest of the process for you of the payment delivery. I used to be a restaurant guy, so my analogy is you got the front of house and back of house, where the back house, the cooks get the food ready, put it up in that window, and then the front of house, the servers and the front of house team takes over. Think of us in this analogy as that front of house where we're following up, making sure everything's delivered correctly, securing the payment method, and keeping all that data secure as well. So, like as I said before, we can be a solution for all of the supplier payments and automate that process, whether it be a virtual card, ACH, or check. Uh, Real secret to our sauce is we're doing real time enrollment of those vendors and management of them. So we don't do a campaign where send us all your vendors. We'll reach out to them all, see which ones we can pay, how they want to be paid. We do that real time as those invoices are ready to be paid. Couple benefits from that are we are able to get a much more larger adoption rate on those credit cards, for which earns the rebate back with money calling with money due right away instead of saying, "Hey, I might pay in 6 months. How would you like to be paid?" We also are keeping track of that ACH and account verification as well in real time. So if your supplier or vendor wants to change their banking information, we're handling that, taking off that risk from you of verifying that account, doing that real time before it becomes a issue of a past due invoice there. The way it works in HIA, which the real beauty of the integration there is the same process that you're doing today of preparing a bill, sending out the check, removing that hold and everything. We're a drop down payment method within inside HIA. So each vendor here, you could drop down and it would show that REPAY payment method on that. And you can have certain vendors that you need to pay directly with a check or bank wire yourselves. I would suggest sending those to REPAY, but if you need a check on demand on site, you can keep that payment method for that vendor and then run the payment process as you would today. Anything sent to REPAY, the file gets transferred to us instead of printing out the checks. Here is just showing, it will show the REPAY payment group with inside our portal that I'll show you here in just a second. And then it shows the funding status. Once it's approved within inside HIA, we request the funds to pull, awaiting funds. When that's funded, you will see that change to funded there. So with that, I'm going to show our portal here. This information is going to be communicated back to HIA, but just for sake of kind of explaining and things, I'll show the back end here. So when these come over to us, you'll see that they have, sorry, 1 second here. They'll come to our group and they're funded. They'll be waiting funds. Once they're funded, we can pull the funds in two different ways from the bank account. Most commonly, and what I would recommend is in a lump sum. So when these are approved for funding, we're going to pull that $39,612.05. You can drag into the payment group itself, and it will show you what that's made up of that 39,000. So with that 39,000, there was three payments that go out. Most files are a little bit larger, but for sake of explaining, I'll just use these three. So you can see within HIA, they're marked as paid. The bank reconciliation is done. You'll see one bank pull for that 39,000. If you'd rather, we can pull for three separate amounts to make up that 39,000. So on the bank, you'd see these three different polls. Makes bank reconciliation a little bit harder for you, but we can do that all within inside the lump sum poll or the individual polls as you would like as well. As I said before, we really do the real-time enrollment, which really gives us a secret. So this vendor here, this Factory Motor Parts, first time we've seen that vendor for this person. We're going to call Factory Motor Parts on behalf of our client. My name's Cody, calling on behalf of such and such. I have these invoice numbers for $21,353.77. Will you accept a MasterCard? With us calling that real-time data again, with money due, they're much more likely to accept that card without extra fees. If they want to charge extra fees or do not accept card, we'll go ahead and roll them in an ACH payment method. We do a manual account verification where we send them a DocuSign link. They upload supporting documentation for that ACH to verify that the actually account belongs to them. We manage all that without any of your resources, and we'll send an ACH. And then lastly, if they don't want to do the ACH verification or a credit card, we'll go ahead and cut out a check and mail it on your behalf. Nice thing about our system as well too is we do payment follow-up. So most cards are sent out via email for remittance. For a virtual card, we send out that email with the remittance for all the invoices that it belongs to and the way to process that card. About 30% in the hospitality industry of the dollars spent that is accepted by card is actually what we consider representative assisted payment. So if that means we have to call into either our phone system, log on to an online portal, or call the location directly to give the card information to process. We do all those for you without any extra charge for that as well. So we capture more of that virtual card spend. And then, so 5 days after we send out a virtual card remittance, we're going to be calling daily to make sure it's applied and or posted to the correct account. ACHs are direct deposited with email remittance that's enhanced. So they have a full list of every invoice and account number to apply that ACH to. So it really prevents on the misapplied ACHs, whereas if you're just sending an ACH through the bank, they don't have that full remittance. And a lot of vendors are misapplying those to the wrong accounts. And then on checks, 20 days after a check is sent out, we're going to be calling and making sure that check is cashed and applied to the account. If the check is lost, like we said earlier, where the U.S. Postal Service is losing quite a few checks, we'll go ahead and do a stop payment and roll them in either a virtual card or ACH so they can get paid a little faster. Or if they still want to stick with the check, we'll go ahead and mail out another check and send it on your behalf with no extra charge. Kind of the breakdown of this is just a dashboard of showing kind of our proof of pudding. You can see this real time at any time as well. So like I said, the only cost to the payment system, we give 1% cash back on anything we get on a virtual credit card. If we do an ACH, it's 50 cents for an ACH, and a check is $1.50, including postage, payment follow-up, and positive pay files on all those payment modalities. And those ACH and check costs just come out of the rebate every single month. So you'll never receive an invoice from REPAY for the payment services. We make our money off the credit card interchange, Visa, MasterCard, get a share, and then we give 1% back to you and play in the margins for our profit. So we really like to align our incentives with you. The more money we make, the more rebate you're going to get, and vice versa. The check and ACHs are just kind of pass-through costs. I'm going to pause here, Chris, and see if there's any questions in the chat that I can address, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Yeah, I don't believe we have any questions in the chat at this point, Cody.
Okay, sounds good. Just a few things to close the loop here. This is the example of the remittance information that is sent to your vendor. So if this is an email for a virtual card, they'll get the invoice, if there's any invoice comments, the card number on there. They also have, if there's any questions, our call center to help them run that card, as well as our email for support for helping them run that card as well. So vendor questions get fielded to us. Instead of having you waste resources on filling those vendor questions, you can send those to us and offload, and we'll answer them. This is an example of just an ACH remittance as well. So when that direct deposit happens, we can put in the invoice number, the account number, any comments. So that's where it would get applied to. So it makes it really, really nice for the vendors to be able to get enhanced remittance on that electronically to apply those payments. We also send out an emailed remittance on check payments as well. So when we call and if a vendor wants to stick with a check payment method, we'll at that time ask, hey, would you like an email sent with the remittance information as soon as that check is sent out? Gives them a little head start. They know that payment's coming and where to apply it as well. Um, the average transaction that we're saving our clients based upon, the labor and stuff, it varies depending on different practices. With the HIA clients, it's around that $5 to $7 that we're saving every single transaction, including the rebate. The real-time enrollment really helps us with that penetration of that virtual card earning you more rebates. And we do whole payments as a service of doing that ACH verification, preventing fraud, since ACH fraud is on the rise like crazy with vendors mocking invoices. We're handling and offloading that risk from you guys, as well as being able to do those representative assisted payments and saving labor on that if you are doing any check payments today. We also have accounts receivable as well with click to pay invoicing. If you want to learn more about that, we can reach out to me and we can show you that as well. So we can do your merchant processing and accounts payable all with a one-stop shop. So you're not dealing with different vendors. You have a one relationship as well. And the nice thing about our system too is, it only takes about 5 to 10 days to set up. There's a simple service agreement, and then a certification of beneficial ownership for this custodial account that we pull those funds from and place and disperse into, much like an outsourced payroll system. And then after those are sent, it's about 5 days setup, and so we can easily get up and running before your next check run.
And Cody, what's the cost of setup?
There is no user fees, there's no implementation costs. So there is zero cost to start up. So you can start without any upfront costing. There's not a whole lot of training involved either, since that integration with HIA, you follow the same practices you would today. And then the only cost to the system are the 1% cash back you receive on those rebates, minus the ACH of 50 cents and checks of $1.50, including postage and those follow-ups. So cost-free solution to start, and you'll actually on your first month earn money back from paying the bills through our system.
I'll back up that as well, that none of our clients pay anything for REPAY. They always get cash or money back to them. So that in itself should tell you that they do a great job of converting those clients to the virtual credit card.
Yep. And then, lastly, sorry, I wanted to show one last thing on the screen. Here's my contact information as well. That's my email, cbradford@repay.com. My phone number is there. That's my cell phone. Ongoing support as well. I just want to reiterate that, any HIA client, I'm the point of contact and there for along the way. We also have a US-based support staff here in Utah that work from 6 a.m. Till about 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so covering all time zones. We're U.S. based, and call our support line directly, and you'll get an answer the first time you call without being on hold or waiting on hold times as well. So just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. We also have a payments review and a lunch on it.
And maybe this may help other people as well. When the funds are pulled out from their bank account, how are they pulled out, individually or as a batch? And then I'll back up that with, can we take a look at the live platform that you typically share as well, if possible, so they can see that they can track those payments and track who's accepting credit card and what their rebates are going to be back on a monthly basis.
Yep, great question. So so we have two ways of pulling those funds. So we can pull in a lump sum of that 55,345. That makes the bank reconciliation really quite easy. If you would rather, though, we also can pull on an individual payment basis. So instead of one pull of the 55,000, this client would see 10 different bank entries matching up those those payments. Just kind of depends on what you would rather, but most commonly, I'd say about 90% of our customers are doing in that lump sum poll of that 55,000. Within our search platform as well, let me back up a little bit of data here.
And feel free to once again type any questions you may have in that chat box. Happy to answer those. If Cody's done such a great job and explaining everything, then that's also fantastic.
So we've made a dynamic search to make it quite easy. So, this is a car dealership. So I'll search for tire and it will pull up any of my tire distributors that I've paid. All of these statuses get updated real time as well. So this National Tire Wholesale for $97.45. It was paid on this status date. That's the exact time. This time will update. So if I was on the East Coast, it would say 11:41. But I'm here in Mountain Time, so it says 9:41. That's the time that those were deposited into their account. We also can just search by event, an invoice number, for instance. So I can just search for that invoice number. It's going to pull up the data in field view there. Anything within inside our search views and all that, I can at any time hit Excel, and that's going to export it to an Excel document that you then can use to manipulate your data how you would like. So here's that view of window here. I then can manipulate this data for reporting and contracting, but all this also lives inside our system here. For a virtual card, like I said, these status updates real time. So on the 6th at 8:14 Mountain Time is when they actually ran that card. If I want a little more backup, I can click on that virtual card link. It's going to give me the tokenized data. I can expand it as well and get my authorization code, the date and time they ran the transaction, and the date and time it was actually posted as well. If it's a check payment, I can simply click on this check image here, and this is going to be an image of the check that we sent. Has the invoice remittance data there as well, the time, the date of the check, and the check number. Like I said, any of these vendor questions, you can easily email our support line and or call us, and we will happily answer those vendor questions. But we also give you access to the system for your own purview and that as well. The dashboard, as we showed a little bit earlier, will track real time on what we're doing for you. So you can see, the payments by type on the top and then the dollar amount on the bottom there. Let me go to a customer that I have permission to show their data on the rebate side so that I can show you how that works as well. I can go to the billing screen, and that's going to show me a real-time calculation of my rebate. So for this customer, we're so far in November, we're paying them $250 a month. For the month of October that we'll pay out, we paid them $1,700. It breaks down the interchange minus the check and ACH fees as well. One good thing about this too that I'm glad I showed this is the merchant processing fees. So we have smart calculation done where if we are paying with a virtual card, utility companies are a great example of this, where it's a $1,500 utility payment that's on a virtual card. If they charge a $3 fee to process that card, and the rebate of the 1% is going to be more or equal to that fee, we'll go ahead and make that on a card payment because you're going to earn money back, or it will be a net zero payment for you because you won't have to send out a check or an ACH and pay that. So that's where you'll see those merchant processing fees. If it's anything greater than the 1% or it's going to be more than that rebate, we will not pay that on a card, and we'll do an ACH as our next option because that's the next cheapest payment for you all as well. So yeah, that's kind of that. Anything else I should show on the system here, Chris? Or
perfect. No, I think that was a great overview. As I said in the introduction, feel free to reach out to myself or Cody at any point. Happy to chat about this or any other questions you may have. So with that, I think we will, I don't see any questions up in the chat box. We will end the meeting. I appreciate your time, Cody.
Awesome.
And thanks to all the attendees for joining today as well. Bye for now.
Have a great week, everyone.